But right back at the start, like a lot of people, I've got a camera. In fact, I've probably got 3 or 4 cameras kicking around the house. These days, I would say leave your camera at home, because the reality is that a phone or a tablet is now as good as cameras of about 3 years older. In fact, Apple, and I use an iPhone, so I know what they're doing. But the phones they are bringing out are so far in advance of my camera, which I only bought 4 years ago, that I don't even know if I'll take my camera with me in future. It also means that tablet phones are cleverer, far cleverer than cameras, because they're doing a lot of what's called computational photography. In other words, they're doing a lot with the picture when it's taken. And that allows you to take good photographs quickly, but it also makes it far, far easier to take bad photographs, particularly if you're standing wrong or if you're doing it in a hurry or whatever. Like anything else, a little bit of preparation makes it much, much easier. So the first thing is, the camera never lies, except it does. Now, this is a famous photograph. It's one that deceived even Arthur Conan Doyle and caused absolute furore in the media at the time it appeared, about a century, more than a century ago, because these girls took an old camera lying in the house and took photographs of them with fairies. And it was proven that it was totally impossible for them to have faked these photographs. And even until very recently, people were doing tours of the gardens of that house looking for the fairies, some of them seeing them. And it was only on the deathbed, the last of them admitted that they actually faked it, and it only took them 10 minutes to do it. So the camera never lies, but believe me, it does. The next thing that's worth saying is that everyone knows that photography is hard, needs an awful lot of training, probably a university degree, and needs a lot of expensive equipment. But actually, no. That photograph that I hope you can see there, between the showers a couple of days ago, I was walking along the canal, which is one of my COVID-safe routes, and the light came through and I snapped it, and I didn't even really stop walking to take it. Just the canal was quiet. It's actually very, very easy these days to take good photographs, as long as you obey a few simple rules. The first rule is stand safely. Make sure that you're stable, make sure that you're balanced, because if not, you can get camera shake, you can get blur, which wastes your pictures, or even worse. The whole point of taking a photograph is to capture the scene, not to become the story. And it's very easy to do. And YouTube is full of people falling off buildings, falling down holes, whatever, because they didn't follow the simple rules. And the rules are actually quite simple. Whether you're using the smallest old phone or the biggest complicated camera, keep your feet far apart, bend your knees slightly so that you've got a bit of flexibility. Don't try and twist your hips round, and keep your shoulders in and your arms close to your body. Just relax into it. If you're twisted, things can go wrong, and then when you know who you are, breathe slowly and take the shot. In fact, to make sure you get it nice and clean, stroke the shutter. Don't stab it. I watched people taking photographs, stabbing the shutter control on the screen like it was a big complicated spring-loaded device, And all that happens is you move the phone, or even worse, the tablet, and either things aren't centered or they're a bit blurred. How do you hold your device? I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions, one that I like and one that I don't use, but they're both perfectly good ways to do it. The one that's recommended by the guys that run a website called the iPhone Photography School is like that, where you use a finger above and below or side by side, and you can then very, very carefully touch the shutter with your thumb and take the photograph, and you've got a degree of bracing. And if you want to, you can use the other hand to brace it. I find that quite good, but that only works if you've got a small phone and big hands. The alternative is what's called the LL grip, and you can see that in the picture there, where you grip with both hands and make sure, again, that you've got your arms tucked well in. And with most phones, not all, but with most, did you know you can take a photograph using the volume button as well as the shutter control? Because sometimes that's easier than fishing around in the face of the screen. Anytime you get a new device, or even when they update the software on it, we all go back to being learners. A lot of people, for instance, got caught out with one of the more recent software versions on the iPhone, where they moved the controls around a little bit, so the buttons that you've been using for months or years suddenly didn't do the same thing because they wanted to make it easier. Yes, it was easier, but we had to relearn first. Because every phone and every tablet is different. They don't give you manuals anymore, and I remember the days when the first thing you did was you got the 300-page manual and you read through it. The reality is that manuals get outdated very, very quickly because they add a new feature which isn't included, or they change the way something works because it wasn't ideal. So there are no manuals, but that actually isn't a bad thing. If you go on YouTube, and I would always recommend YouTube when you're trying to find out how to use what you have, whether it's your, say, a phone or a tablet, I thought, oh, okay, let's do search for videos on basic iPhone photography. And I got over 800 videos which I could choose from. Some of them were very good, some of them were not. And strangely enough, the ones done by young people were better than the ones that were being provided by the professional businesses. Also look at the manufacturer website. Apple and Samsung have both got really, really good videos showing you how to use all the tools. I'm not going to go through everything about flash and timed photographs and live photographs and all those things, because it would take too long and it would be too specific to one manufacturer. So look at your manufacturer's website, and they generally have, and say in the case of Apple and Samsung, absolutely excellent videos telling you how to use those things. The first thing is, with wherever the shutter button is, and it's quite clear where it is in that picture, gently touch it. Work out how gently you have to stroke the shutter in order to take a picture, or the volume button, or whatever. And does the shutter button do anything else? Because in the case of iPhones now, pressing the shutter button does one thing and sliding it does something slightly different. Again, we're not going to go into too far, not today, but understand just how gently you need to stroke it to get what you want, and that way you avoid camera shake. As I say, the volume button also, because with the double L grip that we were talking about, that is a very, very good way of taking pictures. And on some other devices, you can tap on the back of them, or you can push another button or something. There are so many different ways of triggering the shutter, but know what it is so that you can very quickly take a photograph. So what kind of photographs can we take? Well, the first option is the square option, very popular with young people because it's square photographs that go up on Instagram. And Instagram appears to be the thing that they're all doing this week. In 2 weeks' time, it'll be something else. But Instagram actually is a very, very good way of sharing photographs or finding photographs of places. Square is good because it doesn't matter if you're taking the photograph straight up and down or across the way, or the technical terms, portrait, which is like that, and that allows you to tell a story about that area. Waiting till the pedestrians were in the right place, it allows you to emphasise the height of the building. In the same location, if we go into landscape mode, we tell a different story about it. So portrait and landscape, work out what suits you in any situation. Portrait allows you to emphasise height. Landscape allows you to look at a landscape as such. And there's also the panorama mode. This is something that in the old days with big cameras used to be really complicated to do. You used to have to take loads of pictures and then glue them all together digitally, and it was a nightmare. Most modern cameras now will take a panorama automatically and you scan across the way, like this one that I took up Mount Teddy, or the next one that I took on a beach in the Orkney Islands. I wish it was Bermuda, but actually it was much quieter and nicer. You can also do it vertically for taking buildings, cathedrals, seen some wonderful panoramas of the Eiffel Tower taken from the bottom to the top. So let's look at focus for a moment. It's very, very easy and dirt cheap, effectively free, to take lots of photographs. So take a lot of photographs. Take a quick look at them, see if anything has gone wrong with them, and then maybe take some more. Don't bother deleting them at this stage. You can do that later on because you're not likely to run out of memory in your phone or your iPad or whatever. But taking a good look at what you're doing, you can adjust it or whatever. And if you've got 20 pictures and one works, you've got one picture and 19 deletes, and that's no big issue at all. The next thing is have a look at the picture when you've taken the first one and see what it is that you want to concentrate on. Do you want to focus on the person? Do you want to change the brightness because they're too bright? One very useful tip: if you get an area that is too bright, what they call burned out, you cannot recover the data from it effectively. If it's too dark, you can. So it's better to take a slightly dark photograph and then play with it than have something which is an almost. Did you know that if you touch on the photograph when you're looking at it, or touch on the screen when you're looking at it before you've taken it, you can actually lock the brightness and the focus, so that the face, in this case of the young girl, is what is taken. It's in focus. If there was a group of people and some were in focus, some were out of focus, some are too bright, some are too dark, Try touching around the screen and actually watch your device change the brightness, change the shadow, all automatically. The stuff that on a big camera you'd be playing with buttons and dials for ages, but touching it just allows you to get what you want. And when you've got it where you want it, shoot it. And then maybe touch it somewhere else and shoot it slightly differently. Because by doing that, you can change something like this, which is, as I see the phrase I use, burned out, into that. What you'd want to take a photograph of a Chevrolet is beyond me, but it was a good example that I came across online. So the next thing is bursts. What is a burst? Well, all of the modern devices will allow you to take bursts, and that is what a burst is. It takes a series of pictures. You push the button or slide the button or whatever the control is, you push it once, and it just takes a huge number of images, one after the other. You can then choose from the set the one or two or whatever that you like most. Where the control varies across cameras, it was the volume button on iPhones, but since the latest software release came out, it's now by sliding the shutter button. The downside to using the volume control is that you're physically pushing something in, so you get a bit of camera movement. By sliding the shutter button, what you get is the option then just to take that burst. Very useful, but very rarely used, because you get a pile of images you've got to work through to choose the ones you want. But what it does allow you to do is to catch that moment. Somebody jumping, or some people jumping, or kids running up and down, or playing on a trampoline, or birds flying off the pond when they get disturbed, whatever. It's probably underused because it's actually one of those things that a lot of people have no idea what it is, but is a wonderful facility. When it comes to composition, setting up your picture, we have this thing called the rule of thirds. And what the rule of thirds says is that if you can place major things on grid lines, or even better at intersections, for some reason it just looks better to us. Now, all phones and tablets have got the option to put the grid on and off. Sometimes it's a button that's on the screen, sometimes it's a setting or whatever. I would probably argue you're better to have it on all the time and ignore it when you don't need it, but it does allow you then to get those pictures that are pleasing to the eye. But like all rules, sometimes it's better to break the rule than to follow it, because there's no rule of thirds in that one, and yet it's very, very attractive. By using a leading line, which is another effective thing to do, you get a picture that makes sense, and human nature being what it is, there's a real temptation to say, oh look, there's a corner up there, I wonder what's up there, and all of a sudden you're into the story that the picture's trying to tell you. Next thing, white balance. What happens is that all of the modern devices, they are trying to help you, and the way they try and help you is they will look at things and they will try and say, well, okay, that is skin, that is this, that is that, and it does that by trying to know what white is. In the old days, before you took photographs, you used to use a grey card or a white card, and then take a photograph of that, and that used to be used to adjust things. But these days, it's done automatically. And yes, it can work. But there's photographs of the California fires. On the left, that's what you and I would see. On the right is the photograph that the camera has taken. And it's adjusted the colours because it's gone looking for white, and the only white it could find is along the top of the hill there, which should in fact be flaming yellow, so it adjusts all the colours back. It's trying to help, but the more automatic things get, sometimes the more wrong it can get as well. So that needs to be adjusted. And these are two that Katie sent me, and you can see, I hope you can see, that there is a colour difference between the one on the right and the one on the left, because the one on the right is more accurate. So, adjusting pictures, editing pictures, that actually sounds rather scary. These days, it's amazingly easy. And I'll show you it being done. There's the edit button on my Photos app on my iPhone. Click on that, and you've got all the tools to do it. It's different on all manufacturers. It's different on Samsung and on Panasonic phones and all the rest of them. But editing is simple. The rule, however, with editing is less is more. And this is a shameless plug for the next session, I'll be honest, because we'll spend a bit of time looking at that. So, in summary, look at the instructions on your camera. Make sure you know how to get the grid on and off, where the various ways of triggering the shutter are, how to take bursts if you want them, and then practice. The time that you want to take photographs quickly is at the party or at the wedding or whatever. It's, you won't be able to do it then. So practice now. Go in your back garden. Go down Princess Street Gardens. Just wander around. Make sure you can do these things. Look at the results and then practice again.